Let's get some further analysis on those comments in relation to the drumbeats of war made by Mike Pezzullo, the Secretary of Home Affairs, Mark Watson, National Security Advisor at Bondi Partners. What do you make of the comments? Are they helpful?
Well, it was a real attention grabber, wasn't it, for sure? Made as it was as an Anzac Day address to staff. Look, first thing to say is Mike Pezzullo is one of the most experienced, most effective, and certainly one of the most thoughtful and considered leaders of the national security or defence communities. So he would have chosen his words carefully. He would have known fully what the impact of those words would be, and he would have had them cleared politically with his minister. So, as I say, he knew exactly what the impact was going to be, presumably designed to send a message along the lines of, this is serious, folks. There are real issues confronting Australia that could potentially lead down that path. I will say I was surprised that that was the language chosen, the drumbeat of war, when the government, you would think, would be looking to de-escalate the language and to de-escalate the problems with China.
The other government that has sent some counter signals is the WA government. The Premier, Mark McGowan, had this to say.
I just urge the Commonwealth and people in this position, elected and otherwise, to tone it down. Tone it down. What good does that do, saying things like that? It's totally unnecessary. It gets a headline. No doubt probably secures you some coverage around the world. You know, there may be elements in the community who cheer, but it's in no one's interests, that sort of language. Diplomacy should be conducted diplomatically.
Premier McGowan there in WA. The Labor Shadow Foreign Minister also said that the comments seem to run counter to a more nuanced message from the Defence Minister himself, Peter Dutton. I just wonder whether this is going to backfire on Mike Pezzullo if he wanted the Defence Secretary position that he's gone so hard in this particular intervention.
Well, to be fair to Mike Pezzullo, I don't think he actually mentioned China by name in his speech. I could stand to be corrected on that, but I don't think he mentioned it, although everybody obviously draws that inference. Look, as I say, I think he's really reflecting on the seriousness of the situation we find. People shouldn't forget that the Constitution of the People's Republic of China describes Taiwan as China's sacred territory, and it's the duty of all Chinese to try and reunify the motherland. So the drivers behind this are very real and very serious, and it's a very almost emotional issue for the Chinese government, and Xi Jinping himself has put his weight behind this idea of reunification one way or another. So it's not incorrect of Mike Pezzullo to call that out, that this is a very dangerous time we're in. But of course that does point more towards the need for nuanced language, that we really don't want to be escalating, we want to be de-escalating at this time. And as I say, I was surprised that that was the language that was chosen.
The Five Eyes intelligence sharing arrangements also been the subject of debate, particularly off the back of Marise Payne's meeting with her New Zealand counterpart last week. Is New Zealand going to remain in the Five Eyes? There's no talk of them leaving, is there?
No, I think that's would be a bridge too far at this stage. But there's no doubt that New Zealand is setting its own course within the Five Eyes group. Now, of course, as a sovereign nation, they're completely entitled to do that, and we can all understand why. They depend very much on China as an export market, particularly for their agricultural products.
Even more so than us?
Around $10 billion a year, I think, exports out of New Zealand agricultural products to China. And with tourism in a whole, that $10 billion looks pretty important. But it points to this ability of China to try and split off the economic benefits from the political cost. And I think at the moment, New Zealand's kind of walking both sides of the street on this issue and really not winning many friends in Canberra, I don't think.
Mark Watson from Bondi Partners, thanks. Talk to you soon.